Imagine the streets of ancient Athens, where the air is filled with the sounds of merchants, craftsmen, and citizens engaging in lively debates. Amidst this vibrant atmosphere, one man stands out, not for his wealth or power, but for his relentless pursuit of wisdom. This man is Socrates, a philosopher whose ideas have shaped the very foundation of Western thought. But what was his life like beyond the famous dialogues? What did a typical day in the life of Socrates look like? In this video, we'll explore the daily routine of Socrates, from his morning walks through the Agora to his evening reflections on the nature of virtue and truth. Join us as we step into the shoes of one of history's greatest thinkers and discover how his simple yet profound way of life continues to inspire us today. Socrates was an early riser, often starting his day before the city fully awoke. For him, the morning was a time of quiet contemplation and physical activity, setting the tone for a day filled with philosophical inquiry. Each morning, Socrates would leave his home and begin his routine with a walk through Athens. But this was no ordinary stroll. His walks were an integral part of his philosophical practice. As he wandered the city, Socrates would engage in conversations with anyone willing to talk, from fellow citizens to strangers passing by. In these early hours, the Agora, the bustling heart of Athens, was a favorite destination. Here, Socrates could be found deep in dialogue, questioning the beliefs and assumptions of those he met. He believed that through questioning, one could arrive at greater truths and uncover the deeper meanings of life. This method of inquiry, known today as the Socratic method, became his trademark. Socrates wasn't concerned with giving answers. Instead, he was more interested in challenging others to think critically and examine their own lives. He famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." This belief drove him to spend his mornings in search of wisdom, one conversation at a time. By the time the city was fully awake, Socrates would have already engaged in multiple discussions, laying the groundwork for the day's intellectual pursuits. His morning routine wasn't just about physical exercise. It was a mental warm-up, sharpening his mind and preparing him for the more intense philosophical debates that awaited later in the day. For Socrates, the morning was a time of connection with the city, with its people, and with the ideas that would echo through history. His daily walks were more than just a habit. They were a reflection of his belief that philosophy wasn't confined to the classroom, but was a way of life, lived in every moment and with every step. As the sun climbed higher, the Agora of Athens would come alive, and so would Socrates. The midday hours were a time of heightened activity for him, as the city's marketplace offered the perfect stage for his philosophical pursuits. Here, in the heart of the city, Socrates found his classroom, and the people of Athens became his students. Socrates was known for his unconventional approach to teaching. Unlike other philosophers who lectured in formal settings, Socrates preferred the open spaces of the Agora. He believed that wisdom wasn't something to be delivered from on high, but something to be discovered together through dialogue and debate. Using what we now call the Socratic method, Socrates would pose a series of questions designed to challenge the assumptions and beliefs of his interlocutors. He sought to uncover contradictions in their thinking, leading them to a deeper understanding of the concepts they often took for granted. This method was not about winning arguments, but about pursuing truth, an exercise in critical thinking and self-examination. No one was exempt from Socrates' questioning, whether they were prominent politicians, skilled craftsmen, or his own students. Among these students was Plato, who would later become one of the most influential philosophers in history. These interactions were not just academic exercises. They were opportunities to apply philosophical ideas to real-life situations, testing their validity in the public sphere. Socrates' midday activities weren't limited to the Agora. He often moved from one public space to another, followed by a group of young Athenians eager to learn from his wisdom. These students, including the likes of Plato, were drawn to Socrates' unique approach to philosophy, a method that was both rigorous and deeply human. The midday hours were a time when Socrates could engage in some of his most intense and meaningful discussions. He tackled the big questions of life. What is justice? What is virtue? What is the good life? These discussions often drew a crowd, as Athenians were captivated by his ability to dissect complex issues with simple, yet profound questions. For Socrates, these midday activities were not just about imparting knowledge. They were about fostering a community of thinkers, a collective pursuit of wisdom. The Agora, with all its noise and chaos, was the perfect backdrop for this intellectual journey, where every conversation was a step closer to understanding the truths that govern our lives. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the bustling city of Athens began to slow, Socrates would retreat from the public eye. The evening was a time of reflection, a chance for him to turn his thoughts inward and process the day's philosophical exchanges. Socrates valued introspection as much as he valued dialogue. After a day filled with challenging others, he would spend his evenings challenging himself. He believed that true wisdom came not just from questioning others, but from constantly examining one's own beliefs, actions, and purpose. In these quiet hours, Socrates would likely ponder the ideas and arguments that had arisen throughout the day. He would consider the different perspectives he encountered and weigh them against his own understanding. The self-examination was central to his philosophy, embodied in his famous assertion, "Know thyself." Socrates' reflections were not limited to the events of the day. They often extended to the broader questions that defined his philosophical quest. What is the nature of the soul? What does it mean to live a virtuous life? These were the questions that occupied his mind, driving him to seek a deeper understanding of the world and his place within it. Though often alone in his evening reflections, Socrates sometimes continued his philosophical discussions with close companions. These more intimate conversations allowed him to explore ideas in greater depth, free from the distractions of the public sphere. It was in these moments that Socrates' philosophy truly came to life, not as a set of abstract concepts, but as a lived experience, deeply intertwined with the reality of human existence. As night fell, Socrates would finally rest, but his mind was never truly at ease. The questions he had pondered during the day would follow him into his dreams, a reminder that the pursuit of wisdom is a lifelong journey, one that doesn't end with the setting sun. For Socrates, the evening was a time to reflect on what it means to live a good and just life. In his quiet moments, he found the space to grow, to challenge himself, and to continue his relentless quest for truth, a quest that would leave an indelible mark on the world of philosophy and on all those who seek to know themselves. Socrates lived a life that was simple yet profound, marked by a daily routine that was more than just a series of habits. It was a way of engaging with the world that would leave a lasting impact on history. His routine wasn't just about living, it was about living thoughtfully and deliberately, a practice that would resonate through the ages. Among those most influenced by Socrates' way of life were his students, particularly Plato. Plato was deeply inspired by Socrates' methods and teachings, so much so that he devoted his life to preserving and expanding upon them. Through Plato, Socrates' approach to philosophy was immortalized, becoming a cornerstone of Western thought. But the influence of Socrates extended far beyond his immediate circle. His emphasis on questioning, critical thinking, and self-examination became fundamental principles in the development of philosophy. From Aristotle to Descartes to Nietzsche, generations of thinkers have drawn from Socrates' example in using his methods to explore the most profound questions of human existence. Even today, the Socratic method remains a powerful tool for learning and discovery. In classrooms, courtrooms, and public debates, Socrates' approach to dialogue, asking questions, probing deeper, and challenging assumptions, continues to be a vital method for uncovering truth and fostering understanding. Socrates' routine, centered around conversation, reflection, and the pursuit of wisdom, offers a model for living that transcends time and place. It teaches us that philosophy is not just an academic discipline, but a way of life, a practice of constant questioning and learning, of never settling for easy answers, and of always striving to understand ourselves and the world around us. The influence of Socrates' routine is found in the very fabric of philosophical thought and in the way we approach life's biggest questions. By dedicating himself to a life of inquiry and reflection, Socrates showed us that wisdom is not a destination, but a journey, one that begins anew each day, with each conversation, and with each thought.